Hey everybody, it's Sarah and Jen Kem here, and today we are talking about how to become a successful CEO. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so first question. What's the difference between running your business like a hobby and running it like a CEO? And just FYI, this wasn't a submitted question. This is my question that I interjected in there.
Oh my gosh. I mean, how can I put this plainly? If you're running your business like a hobby, you don't have a business. That's the bottom line. You have something that you actually have set yourself up to disappoint yourself all the time. And some of us are addicted to disappointment. I know as a recovering delighter in disappointment or expecting disappointment, that being a hobbyist in your business is so expensive. And I'm not just talking about in money. I'm talking about in your self-esteem, in your confidence, in your ability to show up and serve. It's so expensive. So the bottom line is, don't be a hobbyist. That's the bottom line. And what does a hobbyist look like? Somebody who is not focused on getting in front of as many people as much as possible and making it a weekly, perhaps daily focus. Somebody who is, instead of doing, you're thinking or you're learning or you're planning. And you might go, wait, I thought those are components of being a CEO. Yes, but intentional planning and then acting on the plan is how a business owner, a CEO behaves. And also a CEO focuses on the right hard things. And what that means is that the things that you don't want to do, you get them done faster so that you can get to the delightful things that you'd rather do. People are mistaking that for hobby. Like, oh, I'll do the fun things first. And by the way, I'm not saying don't have fun in your business. What I'm saying is understand that if you get things that you fear or you don't like for me, it's like taxes, things like that. But to be a grown ass business owner or CEO, you have to behave like one. Yeah. So, and you can't just think like one, you have to behave like one. And that's the difference between a hobbyist and a CEO.
I think too, CEOs know how to get the support that they need, to find the mentor to help them to the next step, to reach the next level, to know who they need to surround themselves with, even like other CEOs who are like-minded, because they understand that if I'm serious about this business, if I'm serious about either growing this business or scaling it, or maybe you have a day job and you want to retire into your own business, you have these plans for what you want to do. It's not you don't know what you don't know. It's about being able to invest in the right strategic partnerships and teachers so that you know how to go to that next level. And a hobbyist is more consumed with just the craft and only the craft and the sanctity of the work, and not really thinking, okay, but if I'm going to grow this business, I also need to get support.
You have to hire people who know not just what you'd like to know, but know what not to do. And that's so important. And then being around other people who are just as ambitious. And when I use the word ambitious, I mean they have a fire inside of them that wants to achieve a certain result because they are interested in impact. And if you're interested in impact, but you don't want income to come with it, you're a hobbyist. If you're a CEO, you want to make impact and income. So, and you need to learn the skills and learn from people who've been there. So it's really important.
Okay, so this is a great question that someone submitted. They said, what are the mindset shifts every entrepreneur needs to go through in order to become a CEO? I'm like, how much time do we have?
I feel like that's an entire hour.
That's a whole workshop.
Take our course. We covered that. But mindset shifts. So the first is you need to understand. I feel like this is going to sound negative, but I hope it sounds optimistic. You have to unlearn. That's the first thing. You have to unlearn everything that you've learned up until this point, especially if you had a traditional job before you became an entrepreneur, or you grew up in a household that didn't have entrepreneurial models for you to follow. Because you have to unlearn, because entrepreneurs have to have some risk tolerance, not ridiculous risk tolerance, but enough to go, I'm willing to have egg on my face. I'm willing to trip. I'm willing to fall. Because actually when you trip and you fall, you learn never to trip and fall again. And you only do that by walking and then running, right? And so, and the whole time you're teetering and clumsy like we are. And I think that that's one of the most important things, unlearning what you know. But on the other side of it, a mindset shift is you have to know where to apply structure to it too, because you can't be like wild westin and wild and out there, because structure creates freedom. And if you understand that, that's a mindset shift I recommend you adopt, that structure creates freedom. Because most of us become entrepreneurs because we value freedom of our time, and we want to be able to be creative inside the space that we want. And I will tell you that structure and having anchor points allow you to actually create around it. And when you don't have any anchors or structure, it actually makes you less productive, but also crazy in your head, in my mind. And I'm a very multi-hyphenate person. And I need structure in order for me to create. And actually, it's physiologically true of most humans that we need both. So another mindset shift that you have to get used to is that people will, if you're worried that people are going to reject you, are going to hate on you, are going to troll you, the answer is you're right. They will, because the bigger you get, the more people will reject you, including people in your inner circle, your family, your friends. And that's hard. And that's why it's really important. You can't change other people. You can only shift and change yourself. And so what's important is that you have other people and mentors around you who will see you and see the possibility in you and encourage you, and also sometimes have to lovingly kick you in the butt a little bit to move into the level that you want. Because that's it. You know, it's just like an athlete, right? You don't become a world-class athlete without having a coach encouraging you and showing you, like, what are your time markers? How did you do the last lap? And you don't have to do it in a place that's like, oh, high performance, and I'm going to kill you, and you're going to like kill yourself. That's not what I'm saying. But there's some discipline inside of that that's actually beautiful. And if you look at discipline as creativity, it's really exciting. So these are some of the mindset shifts I would recommend.
I think that the number one thing I learned from you was about being values driven, even in all of the decisions that you make, however you're processing things in your mind. And I have worked really hard over the years to always ask myself that, like, does this align with my values? Does this, even when we're doing things in Master Brand Institute, like, does this align with our values as a company? And I think that that's so great, because you hear so much outside and externally in corporate, which is both of our backgrounds, of like results and it's productivity and the results and the numbers and the you know, all the capitalism and all these things that just really squeeze the soul out of business. And then you get into entrepreneurship where it's like, okay, there's all this open space. How do I know now how to make decisions? Because before I had a manual or some kind of like guidelines or rigidity or people's like, you know, naysaying opinions that I had to follow because I was in another company. I have all this open space. How do I now know how to make clean decisions without spending too much time overthinking or doubting myself or going back and forth between, you know, vacillating in the maybe. And so this being able to look at and understand, knowing what my values are, knowing what your values are, and how that translates to decisions that you make in your career as a CEO, so on and so forth, in your own little ecosystem and empire now. It helps. It's like so much wasted time and stress otherwise, you know?
Yeah, the killer of progress is doubt in yourself. And so being values driven, which is, as I mentioned earlier, like we do that's our mindset philosophy. That's the way that we teach how to continue to be motivated even when times are hard in your business. Because times will be hard in your business. They've been hard in our business. You know, that's how the world works. That's how life is. You don't just become an entrepreneur and everything is just like fixed. You know, in fact, to me, if you're signing up for entrepreneurship, it means that you really want to make a change in the world, because it's not the easy road, but it is the most rewarding road if you want it to be. And so if you're not values driven, if you're only metrics driven, or you're only results driven, which is the old way of doing things, you're always going to hit a wall. You're always going to you're going to burn out, or you're going to get frustrated. And being values driven allows you to really choose the things that will mean something, that will matter in the building of your company over time.
I love that. So closing question, someone said, I heard you talk about doubling down on yourself inside of a live stream. Can you tell me a little bit more what that means?
Well, I mean, I think the number one thing is that one of the things we say on our campus and in our company is protect the asset, right? And so that means that you as the founder, as the idea person, have to protect your energy and understand what you want. And so number one thing to double down on is yourself. You have to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You have to like believe that this idea is worth implementing, that it's worth some of the fears and the rejection. But it's also, because it's not about fears and rejection. It's what's so rewarding and delicious is that on the other side of that is the reward.
Yes.
And if you don't double down on yourself, you're always half-assing it or you're half-guessing yourself, you're never going to get a full reward. You know what I mean? If you want a full reward, you have to go fully into it. And so that's what doubling down for us means. It also means that if you have an offer, for example, and it's working, make sure that you extract as much value out of that for as long as possible before you start a bunch of new things, because that allows you to start more things. People ask me all the time, like, oh, you have a bunch of businesses. How did you do it? People say only focus on one thing. And I'm like, it's because I've doubled down on one thing for a period of time. I've extracted value and money from it to build another thing. And I start to trust myself more as I continue to succeed, but also fail through that process. So that's what doubling down means to me.
I love it. So for all you entrepreneurs who are watching this video, those of you who are CEOs of your business, congratulations for taking that risk and doubling down on yourself, for saying yes to your purpose. We congratulate you and we're so excited to help you move to the next level. And if you have questions that you want to see answered in one of our business talks like this, leave it in the comments below and maybe you'll make it onto a future episode. Thanks for your time today, Jen.
Thanks, Sarah.